divine, oh night when Christ was born, oh night divine, oh night divine.
So we are going to start 9:30 prompt. We are observing the time. We have 9:17. So 9:30 prompt, we are going to proceed strictly into the program. So we ask for your patience, and you can continue your networking. You can start to build your network until we start the program. My co-MC said the bathroom, you have two restrooms upstairs, you have another restroom downstairs. So if you want to use the restroom, you can just go out. We'll have somebody who's going to direct you. The restroom for upstairs, you also have restroom downstairs. For those participants who have not been here, and this is your first time here, if you need any assistance, we have a protocol here going to assist you. feel free to reach out to us if you need any assistance. So thank you very much.
This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence, leave it in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word, leave it in me. And I'm desperate for you. And I'm lost without you. Without you, and this is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your very presence living in me. And I'm lost without you. And I'm lost without you. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me. And I'm desperate desperate for you. And I'm lost without you. I'm lost without you.
So for those of you joining us in this hall, we want to say you are welcome, and we ask that you please introduce yourself and your country you are from. We are doing it for networking. So if you just joining us, we ask to please introduce yourself. We have 5 minutes to 9:30 for us to officially start the program. So we ask that you just be very brief. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Yusuf Adamasise, a student of UNILAK.
Good morning. I'm Orita KSA Liberian from UNILAK.
Good morning. I'm Comfort Mavi, a Liberian from UNILAK.
Thank you.
I remember the first time you laughed with me, and I remember the promises you would never leave my side. Now I'm standing with the news of a tragedy, standing here with a fragile heart. You see, I never share tears, I stay strong for them. Oh yes, I did. When everybody disappears, it's only you who keep me strong. And I can't imagine going on without you in my life, going on with a fragile heart. Lord, I think anything else, it's only you and I can't ever think about giving up, can't give up the fight. The only thing that matters remember the first time you laughed with me, and I remember the promises you would never leave my side. Now I'm standing with the news of a tragedy, standing here with a fragile heart. You see, I never share with tears, I still use. It's only you who keep me strong, and I can't imagine going on without you in my life. Going on with a fragile heart. When I think about life, Lord, I think of you. I forget about everything. I can't ever think about giving up. Can't give up the fight. The only thing that matters, Lord, is you. The only thing that matters, Lord, is you. When I think about life, Lord, I think of you. I forget about everything else. There's only you and I can't think about ever giving up. Can't give up the fight. The only thing that matters, Lord, is you. I ain't got the time. You see, I never share tears. I stay strong for them. Oh yes, I did. When everybody disappears, was only you who keep me strong, and I can't imagine going on without you in my life. Going on.
Distinguished participants, I ask for your appeal to kind of stand as we welcome in our speakers for the best diploma conference held at UNILAK campus. We ask that you please stand to welcome our speaker. Thank you. Honorable Oscar Kimumunka and Honorable Asi Bagabu. It is my place of honor to officially welcome the two of you at the best diplomas conference held at UNILAK campus. Thank you very much. You can have your seat. Thank you. Best Diplomats Rwanda Media Conference 2022, December 2nd, 2022, held at UNILAK campus, Kigali. The theme for today's conference is promoting gender equality through diplomacy. With Honorable Maya Patrick to come forth to do the record remarks, followed by the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Administration and Finance.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. I'm honored to officially welcome you all to this unique occasion, marking the first section of the Best Diplomats Model Conference in Rwanda, organized by the Best Diplomats Rwanda Liberia team. Distinguished such a large, enthusiastic group of youth with the desire and conviction to address issues our continent and our global community faced. Looking at your beautiful faces today, it reminds me that together we represent the future of the African Union and the United Nations as it should be. People from all countries coming together to find solutions to problems through constructive debate and an exchange of ideas. The issues for which we have gathered here today are daunting, but as agents of positive change, it is important to come together on such occasions to learn, network, and discuss solutions to ways of Kigali. And I hope you enjoy your time here today. Thank you very much. So I will welcome to the podium the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academics, for Administration and Finance. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to this congregation. Distinguished guests, Honorable Isaiah Gabo and Honorable Kimanuka Oscar, and other honorable who are here, dear organizers, dear students, dear youth, good morning and welcome at UNILAK for this conference. We are happy to host this event organized by our international student, and we encourage other students to be enterprising by organizing this type of events, this type of conferences that empower youth to contribute to Africa and to the world. As the mission of the Best Diplomats Organization states, today's youth is tomorrow's leaders, is tomorrow's policymakers, and is tomorrow's change makers. So it is an important initiative to think for the future, to think to build the capacity of future leaders. At UNILAK, we congratulate the organizer, especially Mrs. Lee. I don't know where she is. She might be outside, but we congratulate her for organizing such a beautiful event. And we promise to continue our support to other initiatives organized by student, national student or international student, but initiative that aim to empower the youth that dream of a better future. At this juncture, let me thank the speakers who have accepted to join and to speak to the youth, to empower the youth. We have two experienced diplomats, Mr. Honorable Wagabo Izai and Kimanuka Oscar. They have been serving Rwanda in different positions as diplomats outside Rwanda and inside. So they have a lot of wisdom to share with you today and hope that you'll be satisfied by their talk. So I thank the two speakers who have accepted to be with the youth of Africa. On this note, let me say once again that you are welcome at UNILAK and at the Best Diplomat Conference, and I declare this conference open. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those words, educative words as well. So we move to next. We have the general overview of the Best Diplomats Conference, and that will be done by Honorable Lena Martins. She's going to do the general overview for the Best Diplomats Conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All protocol observed. Our distinguished guest speakers, UNILAK administration present, my beloved delegates, and my hardworking organizers. It's my honor to give you the overview of this unique occasion. Best Diplomats is a diplomatic simulation organized, so headquartered in New York. Best Diplomat initiated its momentum with recognition of silence of youth leadership to aim provide prospects to harness advanced opportunity for tomorrow. The organization worked in collaboration with youth organizations to aim encourage aspiring premium by offering them the platform to exhibit their speech and diplomatic skills. Our vision and mission. We envision a work comprised of several engaged people who strive for peaceful conflict resolution, equality, sustainable human development. And our mission states, we aim to incorporate the skills of diplomacy, leadership, public speaking, drafting among aspiring future diplomats. We Best Diplomat believe that today, youth tomorrow are youth tomorrow leaders, policy makers above all, and change makers. Our main agenda is to train these aspiring future leaders and shape them into not just better ones, but best diplomats so they can revamp the future foreign policy and United Nations protocols. Our commitment. Best Diplomat is committed to supporting the process of youth development openly worldwide. To the end, we believe connecting generation is the key in order to enable effective knowledge sharing, instill solution-oriented initiatives like this one. While our conferences connect students, professionals, diplomats, enthusiasts from all walks of life, eager to sharpen the personal skills, perspective of working towards better, more sustainable future for everyone remain our heart of our works. So we have our pictorial evidence of some of our events, and our directories, they are Honorable Fawa Ali. He's an American Director General. We have Her Excellency Daria. She's the head for diplomatic and expert academics. We have Her Excellency Alexandra, Deputy Director General. We have Her Excellency Pauline, Deputy Head of Academics. We have our Director of Ambassadors and our Deputy Director of Ambassadors. Our upcoming events, perhaps you might be thinking that you want to advance your skills. We will be moving this month, December, at Egypt. So you can register to attend this event. So we have Thailand. We're in Thailand November. We were in Dubai some part of September. And we are moving to Egypt December 16th to the 19th. Then we moved January 2023. We moved to Malaysia and Turkey for February. And then we move forward to Dubai again May of 2023. For further information, you can just tap in www.bestdiploma.org/. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, Honorable Lee Martins. You listened to the overview, and I hope you are going to be a part of the upcoming conferences beginning December 16 in Egypt, the one that should be held in Turkey, January, and that of Dubai. So we hope that you are going to make use of those opportunities to sharpen your mind as you get prepared to serve your country, maybe in a diplomatic position. You might be opportune to serve. So we move to the first session of this important event. We ask that you take your pen, your notebook, as we call on our first speaker. He's going to speak on promoting gender equality through diplomacy. His Excellency, Honorable Oscar. Are you prepared? Honorable Oscar. Yeah. So, Honorable Oscar Kimomunka going to speak on promoting gender equality through diplomacy. He's not going to speak from PowerPoint presentation. He's going to speak. So we ask that you kind of listen to him and just take note. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for your introduction. I'm extremely delighted and very happy to be here this morning. It's my first time to visit your wonderful university. I lost my way initially, but I finally found a way. Yeah, and again, when I look at the audience, I find young people, versatile, completely focused, coming from all parts of Africa. And this gives us motivation as a country. And I'm sure you've read a bit about our country. The journey that Rwanda has taken, we have come from far. Don't you think so? I have a friend called Wole Soyinka. He's a Nigerian. He's one of the best writers I think we have in this continent. He once meant, and he told me in '95, he told me Rwanda was clinically dead. If those of you know a bit of medicine, Rwanda was clinically what? Dead. So it means that Rwanda was more or less resurrected. But you have had a very interesting journey, which you want to share with people. And I think we are really happy that we get support from the international community and our brothers and sisters from the continent. So back to today's subject. It's about in promoting gender equality through diplomacy. I'm sure, as you're aware, Rwanda has done reasonably well in the field of gender. And just before I begin my formal speech, I'd like to quote our president, Paul Kagame. He said one time, not many years back, that gender equality is not a favor, but a responsibility. Can I repeat? Gender equality is not a favor, but a responsibility. If you look at it across the world, if you have this kind of approach to gender equality, then I think we reach very far. But the reality on the ground is it has been done a little bit more, but the others I cannot quote because this is information is available. The Middle East is doing very badly. I'm sure you've heard about Iran. You've heard about Afghanistan. You've heard about Saudi Arabia, where gender equality is something like a mystery. Yeah, so to begin I would like to begin by saying that promoting gender equality through diplomacy is a fundamental human right. Advancing gender is critical to all areas of a healthy society. This is why the issue of gender equality, not only through diplomacy, through other fields, is extremely important. And I may have to say this at the beginning, that Rwanda has done reasonably well in terms of parliamentary representation of women. I'm sure you know we are the highest in the world. What percentage? Almost 65, 60, yeah. So we are doing very well. So it is important, therefore, to note that women and girls represent half of the world's population, and therefore half of its potential. But today, unfortunately, gender inequality persists everywhere and stagnates social and economic progress. Unfortunately, women continue to be underrepresented at all levels of political leadership, including diplomacy. In the year 2020, just to give an example, women represented only 25% in national parliaments all over the world, and 36% in local governments. Looking at women in the field of diplomacy, especially female ambassadors, is just depressing. If you count how many women ambassadors, you can even live from our own countries. How many women ambassadors, for example, are from Liberia or from Rwanda? Rwanda parliamentarians were doing very well in parliament. But when you count the diplomats, the ambassadors who have been deployed to represent our countries overseas, the number is still small. I know there's an attempt to increase this. According to a report, I'll quote this report by Anwar Gadash, Diplomatic Academy, the Nordic countries, that is Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and others, Nordic countries have the highest number of female ambassadors in the world, with a share of 40.6%. They have done very well. The lowest share is found in the Arab Gulf states. I had mentioned this, 4.8%. 4.8%. And the Asia region, 12.2%. 2.9, sorry. Then the European Union has a percentage of 23.4%. So you can see the figures are deplorable, to say the least. It's not good. We need to do something. But this must be at policy level. So all this show or demonstrate that why we need gender equality, and I'm informed that the United Nations is working hard towards achieving this with, for example, what you call Sustainable Development Goal, number 5. Now, in 2015, the United Nations member states adopted the development policy on sustainability, which centers around the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are set to be achieved by the year 2030. How many years to go? Barely 7. It's not a long time. Goal number 5, labeled gender equality. It concerns ending all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls, ensuring women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership, and adopting and strengthening sound policies and enforceable legislation for the promotion of gender equality. This must be enforced legislation through Parliament, through national assemblies. So reaching goal 5 requires universal action to give women and girls equal rights and opportunity through what you call institutional and legal frameworks. Progress has been made, but the targets by 2030 remain a long, long way off, highlighting the need for action today. So if you want to change things about gender equality, we must begin today. In fact, we should have begun yesterday. It's never too late, though. So what you call feminist diplomacy or feminist foreign policy was a concept introduced by the former Swedish Minister of Foreign Affairs. She's called Margot Wallström in 2014. So feminist diplomacy is a segment of development aid where financing can promote through diplomatic relations, ideals, and good practices to achieve gender equality. Objectives of feminist foreign policy include, for example, fighting against sexual violence. This is a problem we have even today, sexual violence. Economic emancipation of women and education of women and girls, and that of men and boys. You know, when you look at gender, you don't look at one side. You also look at the girls, you look at the boys, look at the men. It's not one side story. It also focuses on women in leadership and strive to involve women in politics and decision making, and to involve women in peace negotiation and treaties. I'm told actually that women play a very important role in peacemaking. Have you noticed? When a woman is involved in peacemaking, things work out. Maybe these are God's blessings for women. So as described before, the situation is still severe. And countries, organizations need to take the bull by the horn and make policies directly centered around feminist foreign policies. Some countries are already working hard towards a more equal everyday life. I've given an example of Sweden. The other countries like France. France is also trying. Let's give an example of Sweden, just to give more details about Sweden. Sweden is the first country to have applied feminist diplomacy. First country in the world, Sweden. It bases it on 3 pillars. 1, women's rights. Women's what? Rights. Women's representation. And the allocation of resources to ensure gender equality. Gender equality is not something that's not theoretical. You need to allocate resources to ensure that this works out. So in 2015, the lady I told about, Wallström, former foreign minister of Sweden, condemned the treatment of women in Arab states of the Persian Gulf, which resulted in the suspension of diplomatic relations between Sweden and Saudi Arabia. Can you imagine? Some women are mistreated. As a result of that, Sweden decided to cut diplomatic relations with Saudi Arabia. I'm sure you follow international news and in television. I'm sure you've heard about what's going on in Iran. I think there's a lady who was arrested because she was not putting on, what do you call this thing at the top? You have to cover everything except the eyes. And the police, they call it special police or something. They arrested her, put her behind bars, and beat her, and even killed her. Haven't you been following BBC and other? Yeah, and this has caused a lot of problems in Iran today. Serious demonstrations. Police have been deployed to actually it's almost shoot to kill policy. Can you imagine? And it's not only in Tehran, it's countrywide. Of course, the leadership in Iran is saying it's the Americans who are causing this. But the thing is, it's an inside problem because of mistreatment of female women. So referring to diplomacy, in 2017, 40% of Swedish ambassadors were women. 2017. How many years back? About 5. 40% of women ambassadors from Sweden. You can see how Sweden has gone up, which is a clear increase compared to 20 years earlier, where only 10% were women. Now in 2021, it's 1 year ago, this percentage increased to 48 in Sweden, 48%, which makes Sweden have the highest percentage share of women ambassadors in the entire world. So Sweden has done a good job. Maybe you can take an example from Sweden. In 2018, August, Sweden presented what you call a feminist diplomacy handbook to share the lessons of its foreign policy on women's rights. The booklet can be found. You can even get this booklet probably on Amazon.com. Another country that you need to refer to is France. France has also done something. For example, in March 2019, the French Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jean-Yves Le Drian, and the Secretary of State to the Prime Minister, Marlène, published an article named For a Feminist Diplomacy in the French magazine, Libération. They wrote, and I quote, it's a quotation, "For the past year, France has been at the initiative of a new dynamic, a genuine feminist diplomacy. A feminist diplomacy that does not forget any subject. A diplomacy not for the fight against sexual and gender-based violence. A diplomacy for the education of girls and women, boys and men everywhere in the world." End of quote. So the article ends with France is back and feminism with it. France is back. That's what the quotation is. And France set up an advisory council on gender equality with prominent figures such as, there's an actress by the name Emma Watson. Anybody who knows her? Emma Watson, Ukrainian activist Inna Shevchenko, essayist Caroline Forrest, Nobel Prize winners Nadia Murad and Denis Mukwege. Denis Mukwege, I think, is from Congo, DRC. So the council assembled 79 legislative recommendations focusing on, among others, parental leave, domestic violence, and education. Now, we have what we call stronger democracies where certain action has been taken. Other countries such as, for example, Canada, the United States, and Mexico are also working with concept of feminist foreign policy. They have tried to adopt this policy, saying United States, Canada, Mexico. But in order to achieve this Sustainable Development Goal number 5 about gender equality, all countries must take the plunge and work with great determination towards advancing gender balance. We live in an interesting world. I'm sure you've heard this quotation about the world is a global village. Globalization. And this is true. What is happening in Iran today, the next 5 minutes, you get to know about it. So we are no longer saying we can hide. I remember George Bush saying, you can run, but you can't hide. During the war in Iraq, I don't know if you remember, 2001. Today's world is inextricably interrelated. So when you talk about gender equality, it's not in our countries alone. It should be globally. Yeah. So in societies where, it's a quotation from the current Secretary General of the United Nations, it's called Guterres. He said, in societies where women's rights movements are vibrant, democracies are stronger. You cannot have democracy where women are excluded. And remember, women constitute probably a majority to higher percentage in terms of population. So you see, exclude them. But then diplomacy, policy making, parliamentary participation, you have excluded a very big number of population. So that's what Guterres was coming to. So, coming to development goal number 5, moreover, it is important to remember that feminist diplomacy does not just concern women and girls. It revolves around making the world a better place, maintaining secure democracies. According to UN statistics, when women participate in the peacemaking process, I had mentioned this, the resulting agreement is 35%, more likely to last for 15 years. Where women participate in peacemaking, it is likely to last longer. I don't know whether it's the nature of women, whether it's the DNA, whether it's the God's blessings. These are things I cannot comment on, but these are facts that have been researched. So finally, I won't take a long time because I know we're going to have Q&A and we have to discuss better. Finally, today's increasingly complicated and volatile global environment necessitates out-of-box solutions. You know what I mean by thinking out of the box? Thinking out of the box, of course, you know that. It means you don't take the conventional approach to solving problems. You think out of the box. The feminist foreign policy model allows for the promotion of values and good practices to achieve gender equality, to potentially influence the well-being of millions of people through a rethink of diplomatic relations. While some countries have already incorporated this gender perspective, their foreign policy, there is still much room for improvement. So we still have a long way to go. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your kind attention. I hope and believe that you're going to have an interactive session through Q&A. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. You can have a seat. He ended up by saying we still have a long way to go. So, succinctly, I will just recap some of the important points I wrote. After that, we are going to have questions and answers. So, he started by quoting the president of Rwanda, His Excellency President Paul Kagame, saying that gender equality is not a favor, but everyone's responsibility. He talks about promoting gender equality through diplomacy is a human rights, is a fundamental human rights. He talks about the United Nations. The United Nations is working assiduously through the Sustainable Development Goals to achieve gender equality through diplomacy. So this is the reason why 2015, the United Nations, followed by head of states from the member countries, sat down and they came up with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals right after the Millennium Development Goal ended. So goal number 5 talks about gender equality. So in order to achieve gender equality, gender equality needs collective action by everyone. That's the reason why if you read the Sustainable Development Goal, it talks about partnership. You have to partner with other, international NGOs. You have to partner with countries. Developed countries have to partner with developing countries to ensure that we all work collectively to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, especially goal number 5 that talks about gender equality. And he talks about Sweden. He says Sweden is the first country to apply feminist diplomacy. 2017, 40% of Swedish ambassadors were women around the world. And you know, this session is very educative because this is my first time being informed that Sweden, as a country, 70% of their ambassadors around the world, you know, were 40%, and they were women. This is my first time, you know. Though in Liberia, most of the time when the Swedish government appointing, they appoint female. I think the current ambassador now of Sweden is a male. Since our former president, President Salif, took office, all of the ambassadors were female. This is the first time they appointed a male in Liberia. So it talks about 2018, Sweden presented a feminist diplomatic handbook. So as a country, they are not there, you know, just sitting and just talking. They had to reduce it into handbook to make it more practical, that they are promoting gender equality through diplomacy. And that's the reason why we are here. How can we promote gender equality through diplomacy? Yeah. So those were the key points I took. You did your own notes. Not to eat up the time, we are going to take 6 participants who are here to ask questions. At most 1 minute, you have to ask a question. Preferably, we will prioritize female. So we will say 3 male, 3 female. And the female have to ask questions. Because, you know, gender equality is about us promoting our females. So we appeal that you ask questions. So we take the first 6 questions, 3 male, 3 female. Yeah. So call your name, your country, and you ask a question.
Thank you very much. I am Lai Fofana from Liberia and also from UNILAK. You're okay. So as we are here, the aim of today is promoting gender equality through diplomacy. And then you earlier stated that Sweden have cut ties with Saudi because of their violations of women. So as we are here learning how to promote gender equality through diplomacy, what can we do as youth or leaders in order to involve Saudi team into feminist diplomacy or promoting gender equality through diplomacy? Thank you.
So should we take one at a time or 3? Okay, 3 questions. Okay. After 3 questions, he responds, then we'll go to the next 3.
Hi, my name is Malik Lee. I'm from Mauritania. I'm a student at UNILAK. I'd like to know how to promote gender equality in Arab states, because you told us that the Arabic states only have 4.8% women in the diplomacy. So I see that is very low comparing to men. Thank you very much.
morning. I'm Senzi Fouati and I'm a Liberian on Kikari Independent University. Why it is true that gender inequality is a fundamental human right, we should also take into account that it is a peaceful, necessary to obtain or sustainable development. But most of the time when we're discussing the issue of gender inequality, we are more likely to forget the term inclusiveness. So my question here have to do with what become of those that are not being included, those with disabilities. How can we include them regardless of their gender status? How can we include them in the process of obtaining gender equality? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the good questions you've raised. When somebody raises a question, you get an impression that the person has understood or appreciated what has been discussed or what has been presented. These are very interesting questions. And by the way, you seem also to have some of the answers. Some of these questions pertain to the youth. You belong to the youth. You might have also some answers. The first question was by Fofana from Liberia. You talked about youth as leaders. Yes, youth as leaders, you have a very important responsibility. Now, in our culture here in Rwanda, we say a tree can collapse from the beginning if it is not taken care of. Yeah, so if you want anything to be sustainable in future, as a nation, as policymakers, you must identify the youth to begin with. The youth play a very important part. And there is no way you can disconnect the youth from the elders or the leaders. There is a gentleman by the name T.S. Eliot. He's an American poet, one of the best writers I've ever seen. He said, I quote, it was a poem he wrote many years ago. He said, time past is present in time future. It may sound funny. And time future is present in time past. The connection between the youth and the older generation is extremely important. But for the youth to be effective, it must start from the beginning. So the education you receive, the mentoring you get from your elders is extremely critical to how you behave in future as you grow. So even this issue of gender equality, you cannot manage to sort out these issues of gender equality if the young generation, the youth, are not empowered at the very beginning to know. The other thing I see is, especially in our continent here, education, especially for the girls education, has not been consistently given by the policymakers. I know some countries are doing well. I know Rwanda is doing something. It's East Africa generally, and I think West Africa, some countries in West Africa. But unless this is done by the policymakers at the beginning, then what you're asking cannot be achieved. So what can be done? That's the question you ask. What can be done? It must be at a policy level. It must be from the family level. It must be at society level. Because if you don't do it from that angle, then you are missing a very big point. I hope I'm clear on this. So how to promote gender equality? We talked about Middle East, giving example of Middle East. Middle East is not doing very well. If you ask me the reason, I have no idea. But probably it could be deeply embedded in the culture. You know, culture and religion. Culture, religion, traditions, customs. These are very critical. I know nobody can say my culture is better than your culture. No. I said they call it taboo. Every culture is good. But again, there are certain things that certain cultures encourage that in today's world, you might find this is really out of place. For example, why do you discriminate against girls just because of culture? Why don't you empower girls through education just because your culture says girls should not be empowered? These are things of the past. So culture can also improve, can also go with times. That's why I was giving an example, Middle East. I believe, given that we live in a globalized world, things are going to change. I cannot say when this will happen, but I think it's a question of time. Are we together? Gender equality with respect to human rights, yes. What about those people with disabilities? I know there has been discrimination, especially against people with disabilities. But we also have national policies. Policymakers have emphasized this issue of ensuring that people with disabilities are also given attention and encouragement. There is even a saying that disability is not inability. Have you heard about this? There are disabled people who have performed wonderful jobs, who have performed very well. So again, sometimes it can be a question of mindset. How do we perceive people with disabilities? They're human beings like us. It's just that something happened. So it depends again on the policymakers to ensure that this aspect of disability is given priority. Are we together? So I don't know. Some of the answers I think you being the youth can contribute, but this is the way I perceive the three questions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Though I'm not among the presenters, but I want to add something to what Honorable, many of you are asking, what should we do as a youth? I think there is a lot of things you can do because today you have many opportunities to raise your voice. I think now you have social medias where you can express your views and push politicians to change what they are doing. So, for example, the student from Mauritania and I think the others said, what can we do in our countries? Start in small groups like this in your schools and try to involve also women to speak about their rights. For example, in your classes, in your schools, use the media to express the voice. I know it's not easy because in some countries, if you use the social media, you might be imprisoned or whatever, but you have to speak about those rights and mainly involve the concerned people, involve women to speak about their rights because it will be heard well enough, like what happened in Iran, etc. I've seen in this room, they said, we want to give a platform to ladies who are here to speak and ask questions, but I've seen only men are asking questions. So I think also the women need to take the lead and speak about your own problems. And they have to start with you who are at university, who are educated. So if you continue being shy and expecting that it's only boys or men who will speak about your rights, then things might go a little bit slow.
Example with the audience. I worked in Kenya in my diplomatic career, and I do remember in 2003, there were very, very few women in the cabinet of Kenya. Kenya is a very democratic nation, you know it. No military coup, it's a very serious democracy. Early in 2000, any woman who would try to compete for a parliamentarian position will be really fought by his countrymen, men. I used to read the newspapers. They will qualify that woman of all evils in the newspapers. But women continue to fight. When Rwanda decided that now, in any public institution, 30% of women should be observed. I remember Kenyan women and girls like you at the university started to strategize to gain 30% in any nominations in the government, even in ambassadorial positions. Today, if you research with the recent elections, 30% have been observed. But in French, we say, on ne fait pas d'omelette sans casser les œufs. Je pense que mon ami de la Mauritanie m'entend très bien. You cannot just sit, you cannot make an omelette without breaking an egg. So you are students, see what is happening. Before even you ask yourself what is happening in Iran, think about your own countries. How do you influence the change? I heard about a gentleman from Liberia. Before the first president woman, Johnson Sirleaf, became president, you said there was no single ambassador, woman ambassador. Am I right? If I go to you, I think now the situation is changing. So what you see is happening in Iran. You saw Iranian dancing in the street when United States of America beat Iran. They were celebrating the defeat. So now, the whole country is in trouble. Don't you think that lady, that young girl who was killed by security organs could be a starting point for a change? And if something changes in Iran, it will have a direct influence in other Arab countries in the Middle East. Thank you.
So we want female to ask questions. We are in a feminist country like Rwanda, so we
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Adeline Mniza. I'm from Rwanda. I'm a student here in UNILAK. It's not a question, it's something that I would like to say. The guy there asked what they can do about this. When we say youth, we understand the foundation of the country. And every guy, like every boy, has a woman on his or her side. At home, in classes, treating a woman starts with your thinking. Like, what do you think of your sisters? What do you take them of? Like, they are not the girls to be home. They are not the one to do the domestic works at home. You have to start with what you think of your sisters. What do you think of your mother? What do you think of your wife? They are not only home materials. They can do something great and big. They have the power. Something else that I want to say is that when we say about gender equality, you have to understand the difference with gender equity. You guys have to understand that you are not giving us a favor. We have the right to be treated the same as you do. It's all about 50%, 50%. Some boys looks down on us because they think that what we achieved is that they want us to get there. They want us to be there. They think that they're giving us a favor. They think that we get things because you're women. They think like you are in the job because you are a woman. They think that you are in the big position because you are a woman. That's not true. We deserve it. Truly, we deserve it. We do the exams for the job. In the class, we do the same exam. It's not a favor. It doesn't come with the name of a woman. We work for it. So we have to change first our mentality. We have to change first what we think. Right? For example, that's Lee. She's the head of the organizing team. She's a woman. The school didn't give her like this room because she's a woman. She worked for it. She worked for this event to happen. There's no connection with her being a woman. There's a connection with her ability. So you boys, you need to understand that it's not a favor you are giving us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm student Antoinette Yenkwangwa from Yanza, Olabiran. We are talking about gender equality, which main concern is women and girls. But first, can you tell us the difference between gender equality and women empowerment? Once again, Pinkedan, we are discussing gender. Like my colleagues, men fit for some be like the lady. It's not right, or women are not to lead or women are not to rule. It's always the case, mostly in our African sector. And we are preaching, we are talking about gender equality. My question here is, what is happening with gender equality? Approximately half of the workforce worldwide women are still uncommon between the CEOs of the biggest organization, and how women cooperate situation like this. Okay. The question is, what is happening with gender equality? Approximately half of the workforce worldwide, women are still uncommon. Yeah, they are still uncommon between the CEOs of the biggest organizations and how women cooperate with it.
Hannah D. Peewee, a librarian student in UNILAK, and I would like to ask, how can we get a woman to operate in a male-dominated sector network, looking at their vulnerability when it comes to the thought of men, mostly in our society?
So just before the speaker respond, we are going to close the question and answer. And because we have our speakers are here, we have the second speaker seated and the third speaker seated already. So we just go to the first speaker to respond. If you have questions, we ask that you kindly write it down and send it forth. During in the previous sessions, we read your questions and give it to the speaker to be able to answer during the networking session. Thank you. You can proceed.
Thank you very much. These are interesting questions. We'll share some of the responses with my colleagues here. Actually, some touch on some realities on the ground, what is really happening. Adeline's intervention was interesting. I don't think I'll comment on this. It was just a comment there. It was a very good comment you gave. Another question, let me see. Antoinette from Nyanza, let me start with her. You're talking about gender equality and women empowerment. Gender equality and women empowerment. The two are inextricably linked. You cannot attain gender equality without empowering women. And the empowerment of women should not be in isolation of what is on the ground. You see, men must also have a kind of paradigm shift in the way they perceive women. And this must be generated from below. You don't think that, for example, at a family level, if you think that the girls are the ones going to cook, the ones go like in the bed, they're the ones going to bring firewood, and the boys are just going to wait and eat. You're already spoiling the boys at the very beginning. See? But these days things are beginning to change. You find boys are very good cooks, especially during the vacation, when they're not in the boarding. Haven't you seen this? I know some boys, some families who are very good. I have a son who's a very good cook, my last born. It's not the best. Now, in the developed world, you find it very interesting. Do you know that this concept of having a worker at home, I know the African middle class believe in this, having a worker, is completely not there. I remember when I was studying in the United Kingdom, I realized it was a kind of shock. That's how I developed my skills of cooking. Because if you employ a worker, you have to learn how to do everything. But similarly, our boys must also be empowered and change their perceptions about, it comes from families. They think boys are superior to girls. It is not true. There are girls who are very intelligent, girls who are very hardworking, sometimes even better than boys. So the whole thing is about mindset, it's about attitude, it's about perception, and also, as I mentioned earlier. So these are things that they take time to change. But this must be deliberately done from the family, society, policy-making level. The problem. Okay. Is it clear? I think so. Hello? Hello? Now, regarding the percentage, I think somebody gave an example of the African setup. About half of the workforce, you find, for example, CEOs. Because if you have, for example, 80% of CEOs in a particular country, either in companies, whatever, are men, then there's something going on, something's wrong. So, like in Rwanda, we have tried our best to make sure that maybe through parliament, through legislation, not enough. It's in the world, yes, in the world. And this has also been moved to cabinet. We've got many cabinet ministers who are women. I don't have the figures with me now, but you can cross-check. We have got women CEOs, various top companies, women. We have got, so I think Rwanda is doing something. But I know there are also countries in Africa that are trying to do the same. So the whole thing is about policy. If these gaps can only be narrowed, if it is deliberately done at policy level, I know it takes a bit of time, but I'm sure with due course, this can change. What else? Male-dominated sectors. I think so. Any other comment? Any comment? Okay.
What I just want to add is we need to distinguish national policies and international policies. For example, for international organizations like UN, like the World Bank, like whatever, all those organizations have gender policies. There is a number of, at the top of each organization, each international organization, there is a number of women that must be observed. For example, in UN organizations and UN sub-organizations. At country level, it depends. By the way, you still have a long way to go. Let me give you an example. We have a Rwandan referee in the World Cup in Qatar. This is the first African woman to be accepted as a referee at an international cup, at the World Cup. What does it happen? This is soccer. But it's a starting point. But she's the first African lady to officiate in the World Cup. This is the FIFA, it's an international organization. It is starting, but it is too late. So among yourselves, some of them will be referees because I'm sure she will emulate many young ladies to become international referees. It will start with you. What I know today, many women who studied very well their universities, you can go through normal channels and become an international staff. I know many ladies, CEOs, many ladies, CEOs. So I have nothing to add to what my colleague Oscar Chimanoka has said. Gender equality starts in your homes. What is your attitude towards your sister? What is your attitude? I remember when we were very young, we were born boys only in my family, 4 boys. So I did all kind of job. But in our times, when we were still very young, boys, in a family where you have girls and boys, boys were not allowed to cook. That's it. We were not allowed to sit in the kitchen and cook. We are not allowed to clean the house. That was the work of girls. But now things have changed. Chimanoka gave you an example. So I think he learned to cook in the UK. So when I was working in the US, in New York, because too much work I did when I was still very young, I cannot cook today. I spent 2 years, I never cooked in my apartment, and I was not staying with my family because I did all kind of job when I was still very young. So now I cannot cook. I hate it because I did that job. But my children, they are treated equally. When it comes to do some jobs at home during holidays or after classes, they have to be treated equally.
There is something else I want to share with you regarding this gender equity. I remember in the United Kingdom, somebody I was studying with the university took me for Christmas to his home. And guess what? The father of this guy, whom I didn't know, was the one cooking for us. And the mother, who was a nurse, I think retired nurse, was the one conversing with us, making us, happy and cracking jokes. But the man, the father of this guy whom I was studying with, was sitting like the houseboy would sit somewhere at a distance. So suddenly I asked, excuse me, who is that gentleman? Oh, sorry, I didn't introduce my father. Now, gender equality does not mean a man should be in the kitchen only, exclusively. It should be something you balance the jobs. In fact, in Europe, you know that very well. Men are on the receiving end. Canada, Sweden. You see, it should be a balancing act. I'm telling you, it's something I cannot forget. I thought this man was a houseboy. Only to realize that he was the father of my friend whom I was studying with. So the other extreme can also be bad. Thank you.
Yes, so we want to say thanks for your presentation and thanks for responding to all of the questions that were asked by our distinct participant in the hall. So we are going for almost 20-minute break at run to 12 o'clock. Okay. So we go for break, but we ask the speaker to leave before our participant also leave. So let me recognize His Excellency Honorable Otis Tao. Otis Tao is one of our speakers here. We say welcome, Brother Otis Tao. Thank you. So our protocol, we usher you in where you can go and have your and we ask that you don't stay too long. You can also use the 20-minute break for networking as well. So you can leave now and go. Thank you. So you please come in 20 minutes over already. I'm Bruce.
Hear the word, hear the call. Give me a hand in my sinking sand. But I cannot turn my face away. I wanna leave a mark of hope. I wanna change not just my home. Together we can make this world a better home.
Yeah, I see this case, look at this race. One consider kissing, fought in dismay. Losing the way of the future we crave. Just hope we embrace this foundation to stay. I see your brother displaced, he must have made a mistake. Lady then cries, okay, some fussy cause she's got a face and this heavy cause she's alone carrying this weight.
But it doesn't have to be, so you can call on me. I'll be there in a hurry and with all my G's. Proud to be your changes, my hand to lead. One day I will need you to do the same.
Hear the word, hear the call. Give me a hand in my sinking sand. Shine your light when it's so dark. Just let me know I'm not alone. Let's be the change we wanna see. I'm for you, you're for me.
We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving. That's the better way to make the shit. So let's start helping and making this world a better place. That's why when I'm not, and I'm gonna take you as a brother when you're not. Together we make everybody smile. All of us can. Take my hands.
Hear the word, hear the call. Give me a hand in my sinking sand. Shine your light when it's so dark. Just let me know I'm not alone. Let's be the change we wanna see. I'm for you, you're for me.
Together we stand with helping hand. That's no way we're gonna fall. With love in our hearts, peace in our minds. That's the way we heal the world. Cause I can't wait for the time you heal the world. We can live with that hate, trap that hate and let us go. Now we need your hand, where we made the change. Oh, we need your hand, oh, we use.
One war, different people. Now we are all the same human being. Be the change you wanna see. Life is just another game. Hey, when they call I'm not stupid, I can never be a hater. I'd rather go and get a paper. Do me a favor, love thy neighbors. Be very careful what you wish for. Stay humble, stay peaceful. What's the price of being evil? Let go for your ego. Doing good made me feel better. I'm a go-getter, you should know better. Before you judge me, life do not come with a price tag. Make use of it, cause time fly. I hate to see the whole world cry. How to put my pride to the sideline. Rather die for my brothers. Show love to whoever. You ain't know why somebody going through here. What the only job we gotta do. Now I'm feeling like a doctor, but it's like I'm running out of patience. You are not alone, I'm always there. If you need a hand, you can count on me. Going in the dark, letting go of all my fear. You are not alone, I'm always there. Let's come together, then we make a change. First it's gonna start from me.
Hear the word, hear the call. Give me a hand in my sinking sand. Shine your light when it's so dark. Just let me know I'm not alone. Oh, let's be the change we wanna see. I'm for you, you're for me. Many days I see motifs, and the more than the smiles I get to see, but I cannot turn my face away. Hear the word, hear the call. Give me a hand in my sinking sand. Shine your light when it's so dark. Just
So we want to again welcome you back from break as we proceed to the second session of today's program, today's conference. So for everyone to please be seated as we proceed in the second session. So please have your seat, please. before we proceed to the second speaker, we are going to call Her Excellency Honorable Lina Martins for a few words of appreciation to our previous speakers.
I guess we all had a fantastic time during our break. So I'd like to proceed straight into our appreciation statement. We, as team Best Diploma Rwanda, would like to acknowledge and extend our heartfelt gratitude to our great speakers, Honorables Oscar and Honorable Blackabo was spending. So we created a certificate to honor these speakers because it takes a person that want to see the change that we all want to see to leave all the business schedule and come and speak to these great participants. So we will send your certificates to all our speakers via hard copies and soft copies. And we will move strictly to our administration. You know, initially when we started this whole initiative was difficult. We thought, how can we start the whole process and so on. But the University of UNILAK, that is University of Lay Advantage of Kigali, they were really helpful to us. So the first person we met was the dean. He expressed idea to him. He got us through and told us to put it into writing. Later we saw His Excellency Honorable Dr. Richie. He's the Vice Chancellor for Finance. And he was so supportive of everything. Like each time when I text them on WhatsApp, I can be like, they are tired of me already. But they were really supportive. Even in line with the speakers, with the PA system, the hall that we are using, everything in media, they are the ones that did that for us. So we like to call His Excellency, His Excellency His Excellency Dr. Jean Gamiji. He's the Vice Chancellor of University of Lay Advantage. So Dr. Richie. Yes. So we'd like to say thank you. We'd like to say thank you so much for your countless efforts that made this program a success. Please extend our heartfelt gratitude. Thank you so much. So we move to Dr. Mr. Richie. He happened to be like a father to me personally, and he's one of the instruments that really make this day a success. So we'd like to present this certificate to you, a readout in recognition of your dedication and meritorious support towards the best diploma team in successful organizing the best diploma model conference in Kigali, Rwanda for the first time. Thank you so much. My teammates, Kidneys, and that will be presented to Dr. Emmanuel. He happened to be the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academics and Research at University of Lay Advantage. So he's not here, so yes, can we have the Dean or some, Mr. Banda can, yes. Mr. Banda, please.
Okay.
On behalf of Best Diplomat Rwanda, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your participation. The first Best Diplomat model. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to call, we said gender balance and gender equality, right? So we're going to call Honorable Ambassador Prince that is going to present the Dean of Student Certificate.
Thank you so much. In behalf of the family of Best Diplomat, we would love to extend our heartfelt and revolutionary thanks and appreciation to the Students Affairs Office, which is spearheaded by our own daddy, who have been so instrumental, who have been so hardworking, and who have been so diligent in making this program successful. Today we say we recognize your effort, and we are so glad to have you as a father. We are so glad to have you as a mentor. We hope you will continue your hard work and to ensure that we youth from Africa solve our problems diplomatically. Thank you.
Okay, we move strictly to our great speakers, and we would like to call Honorable Pakabu up and Honorable Oscar. Thank you so much. Can you give him a hand and applause as they come? So we believe what? We want to train emerging leaders. We want to train emerging what? Lawyers, emerging what? Diplomats, to learn these skills in your very career. Perhaps you might have issue with your boss. You have to learn how to negotiate. So that's the essence of us teaching these great minds how to negotiate. So thank you so much, Honorable Oscar and Honorable Bakabu. Thank you so much for leaving all your business schedule to come and breed young leaders for tomorrow. So we say thank you. We'd like to present this certificate to you both, and in subsequent time we're going to send the other one. Sorry for the inconvenience. So we move straight to our protocol and our program. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks to our speakers, and thanks to Honorable Lee Martins for our speakers. We move to our program now. We're going to have special statement from the Dean of Students of UNILAK, Dean Yamaswa.
All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to, actually, I salute you for what you have organized. This was, it has really touched me to see our students organizing an event like this. As they said, I'm Pastor Nyamaswa Ephron, the chaplain and Dean of Students for UNILAK. I'm delighted to witness such a historical event where students and youth from diverse backgrounds, institutions, and countries have assembled under the banner of the best diplomats to gain knowledge regarding diplomacy. Remember that diplomacy is the only key to finding lasting solutions to the numerous problems that we face today as Africans and the world at large. It is sincere hope that what you have started as students and youth will continue to take root in your lives. Keep up the good work as we hope to use diplomacy, find peaceful solutions to the problems we face. In conclusion, I'm grateful to this unique body for honoring me on this special occasion, and we will continue to work with you as an institution to bring positive dreams to reality. May God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Somebody left their keys. I don't know who has it. The what? Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so you ready? So we move to the second speaker, and she's going to speak on the importance of gender equality in promoting diplomacy. So Grace will do introduction, and then she will present through PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we would love to welcome our second speaker on this stage, and she's none other but Amina Mohoza Poetess. She's CEO at Saye Company Ertid Dukataze and project manager of MPA Rwanda. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we welcome our second speaker.
You may be seated. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing very good. I'm extremely excited to be here. My name is Amina Umhoza, as they told you. I'm heading a social enterprise company called Saye. We aim to empower adolescents mentally, socially, and economically. But today I'm not going to be talking about my organization, but I'm going to be talking about how we are going to promote gender equality through diplomacy. We know what diplomacy means. We know that it's all about all management of international relations through negotiations, and you know different importance of it. Next, please. But I want you to, I'm going to ask you a question. What comes in your mind, you're going to be honest with me, what comes in your mind when you see a word, a diplomat? Is it a woman who comes in your mind, or it's a man? Please be honest. Can we show it with how we're raising our hands? Is it a man? Who comes in your mind? Be honest. Be honest. Really? This is a man, right? What about a female? Can we show the hands? When we hear word diplomat. Only one person. Okay, what about both? Okay, I see. We are going to see what it really means. Go next. So you can ask yourself, because in past years, before the Second World War, women empowerment wasn't there. We weren't even allowed to elect. You can now understand what it meant about being elected. So the role of a woman in diplomacy was more of accompanying the husband abroad to do dinners, parties, general cleaning, and entertaining the guests. This is all about what women at that time were doing. So they weren't really participating in democratic governance. They were just only doing this. Do you think was enough? It wasn't enough at all. Next. But after the Second World War, we started to see some of the women being able to take democratic governance. We can take an example of this person. She's called Nina Banga. She became the first full female cabinet minister. This was around 1924. That's how we started to see some of the female taking position and taking lead in diplomacy. We started to even attest that change in Rwanda, but it wasn't that high. Next. So now the question that I have now, should we be satisfied with where women are today in terms of participating in diplomacy? In the previous presentation that we had, we've been able to understand the positions and even the mindset shift that has to be made to see the women taking lead in diplomacy. So, of course, we are not satisfied with where women are today. Next. I want to show you this. It's a result of the 2022 Women in Diplomacy Index. It showed that out of 4,293 ambassadors currently appointed, only 927 are women. This is very sad. This is very sad to see in 4,293, only 927 are women. What it means is that we are very underrepresented. Isn't it true? We are very underrepresented. And you're going to help me on this. What happens when a certain group of people are underrepresented? What happens? Any idea? What happens when you are underrepresented? Because for today, we're going to be focusing on gender, and of course, gender includes both men and women. But now, women are underrepresented. What is going to happen to us, ladies, if we are underrepresented, like how the statistics are showing? What is going to happen? What is going to happen? Yes? Yes, our motive die. Any other idea? Yes? Yes, the influencing the policies, and it's not going to be centered to women. What about women? This is all about us, and I'm not seeing your hands. What is happening? What is happening? Yes? What do you think is going to happen because we are underrepresented like this? Next. So what is going to happen is that we're going to have unheard voices. There are challenges that we have in our communities. But if we are underrepresented like this, we are not going to be able to get our voice to be heard. Second of all, we are going to lack development opportunities. We are not going to be able to access it. And do remember, in women, there is someone who asked about women empowerment. We can't be fully empowered without having able to access and to have the capacity to access the development opportunities. Another thing, there is going to be increase of gender gap. You're always going to see men there and women there. So this has to be changed. Another thing that is going to happen, we are going to lack role models. You remember the women emancipation started like early 90s. Now we are starting to have like this woman who has officiated World Cup. She's a Rwandan, and she's the first African woman to do that. Imagine you're getting the first role model right now in 2022. So if this is going to continue to happen, we are going to lack role models. There is going to be high rates of teenage pregnancies and even low level of education. Next. So now my question is, who benefits from women representation in diplomacy? Can I see the hands? Where are you? What about men? Only two. What about both? Exactly. Next. So all of us are going to benefit. We are talking about women. We're not talking about the strangers. These are your sisters. These are your mothers. These are your daughters. These are the people in the classmates. So if we talk about women empowerment and the involvement of women in diplomacy, you're not talking about strangers. These are our people, and their empowerment and being able to reach to the next level is going to benefit all of us. Next. So now the question that you have to ask yourself: what should we do next? What should we do next? We've been able to understand the history of it. We've been able to see how we are underrepresented. So what should we do now? You can ask yourself among these two things what we need. There is change and a chance. But I believe that we need both. We need change in policies that are there. We are very glad that in Rwanda there is a 30% of women representation in leadership, but it's not everywhere. So we need a change, especially in the policies and implementation of them. But we also need a chance. If you see a young woman down there, don't look down on her. Don't think that she's just going to end there. You have to begin with an end in mind, because she's going to be representing all of us. Next. And finally, what are we saying here? Any answer? A juice, but yes, a juice, but it has a specific name. Yes, it's a cocktail juice. So we need a cocktail. There is only one single solution cannot solve this. That's the reason why we need different components, different roles of people to be able to come up with the solution. Only economic empowerment is not going to be enough in achieving this. Only social empowerment is not going to be enough. Only political will is not going to be enough. That's the reason why we need a cocktail of the following thing. Next. You can see that these words are very crowded, but that's what we need. We need everyone here, men, female, to be able to understand their role and what they have to do to ensure to promote gender equality in diplomacy. So if you're thinking about empowering women, start on your sister, start on your friend, and always try to be a voice for her. If you see that she's afraid, because for me, I was very shy at the early age, but because of empowerment, I've been able to work on myself and to even be able to present myself and also to present others. So when you see someone is shy, when you see someone is doing not good in school, you have to just think in your head, this person can be the next someone. What should I do to empower that person? So that's what we need together. And yes, that's all about my presentation. And that will be short and sweet, right? Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So you have your seat and you will respond to the questions. So I want to say thank you again for that brief presentation. You are very concise, to the point, and I hope our participants took note to get prepared for the questions and answer. I wrote just few things she spoke about, she gave a statistic about ambassadors appointed. 4,293 ambassadors currently appointed, only 927. See, this is very educative. I never knew. I guess more people never knew here that you have only 927 female ambassadors around the world. And she said it's not sufficient because female will not be heard. Lack of development opportunity for female. There is all over. Increase in gender gap. Gender-based violence will increase. So what can we do to increase female participation? What can we do? Our participant needs to answer that question. Even the speaker too should help us. What can we do? Yeah, there are policies. UN trying to the Sustainable Development Goal, goal number 5, gender equality. But is it sufficient to increase female participation? For me, as a student of development studies, I will tell you no, it's not sufficient. There are a whole lot needs to be done. And I hope you can help to answer that question. You also said 30%, yeah, we want that 30%. But you say it's also not sufficient. There should be more to be done. From 30, probably 40, 50. I think the whole debate, globally, if you follow the debate around the one 50-50. On 30, now they are pushing for 30%. If you give them 30%, the next time they will come for 40. The next time you will see 50. So I think the whole debate is about 50-50. And I don't know if that will be possible in the next 10 years to come. But again, the participants going to ask their questions. We are going to take the first 6. The first 3 she will respond. 6 questions, 3 male, 3 female. Gender equality. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sherman Thompson. It's not actually a question, but there's something when you are explaining about change and change. I understand that every root, every cause of our problem begins from somewhere. And our society will find ourselves among. I hear people talking about this man married this woman and say, hey, it's my property. This is my property. So with that notion of property can be inappropriated. That is, a property can be seized, even expropriated as well. Now, women in marriage, they are, I would say, a partner. Instead of calling them property, we say they are our partner because it's this notion that we carry around in our very home, and our married women and our married men take the mentality across to the younger one that is coming out that this person, I married this person, she belongs to me, she's my property. So with that, we'll not be able to balance balance the equation of women coming on board as 50% because they will always feel inferior and subjected to their husband. So I beg you, gentlemen, Africans, I beg you, we should change our mentality of calling our wife property. They are not property. They are our partner. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, our young CEO. This is not a question, but it's like I saw this coming. I wrote certain thing in our group chat a few days ago about this gender equality, but I was focusing on limitation. Sometimes, like you already said, it's not about a fee, it's not about specialization. It's about togetherness, empowerment, and motivating. So sometimes our colleagues will like feel